Hell yeah, we're synced up now. And what you gotta do is you gotta head on down to the House of Decline Patreon. That's patreon.com/House of Decline. Haus of Decline. It's a weird spelling. For just $3 a month, you get 30 comics a month. That's a crazy amount of comics. You wouldn't get that much comics in China. They don't have that many comics over there. You know, you'd have to go through the state. You'd have to know a guy. You'd have to, I don't know why we're doing so much xenophobia in this.
Corrupt. Well, it's very corrupt in China, right?
So, very corrupt. Much more corrupt than over here.
You have to do corruption to get comics, and over here you just pay a guy who pays a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that simple at patreon.com/House of Decline. That's Haus of Decline, the German spelling, which was chosen by Alex because of his affinity for the German.
I love the Germans.
The German stuff.
I think it's the same reason why Jewish people like German shepherds. There's a sort of retournement when you adopt German stuff, which is why, every Jewish guy I know is loves Brecht and Wagner. And so those are two very different German guys.
Yeah, that's totally for real.
Also on the show today, we're very excited to have a special guest, someone I've wanted on the show for a while. I know her from Twitter. We came up in the same posting cohort. It's Gail, a.k.a. Poison Jr. How are you, Gail?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's a beautiful week. It's a beautiful week for a podcast. I've got things on my mind. Mostly the thing that's been on my mind is fucking Kanye. Again, I don't know how he keeps doing it. Keeps inserting himself
fuck Kanye
into
and get it out of your system.
You're right. Well, that is my theory, is that I think Kanye might be a little gay. And, but that's just my diagnosis for everything. If, some guy is acting out, it's just, man, you need your dick sucked by another man. That's clearly what the solution is. And, I say, I think he might be a little sexually attracted to Nick Fuentes. I think, once you get rich and wealthy enough, once you get out of touch enough, you eventually, like Michael Jackson, enter the little white boys phase of your career.
Yeah. That's an interesting comparison to bring up Michael Jackson, because that was the last time we had this epic public burnout of a major superstar, right?
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking, maybe the reason Michael Jackson was so bizarre was because he wasn't fucking guys.
Yes.
Maybe that was what was happening.
I think had he been allowed to fuck men his own age, none of this shit would have happened.
No, I don't go with that.
No, Steven, this is totally correct.
No.
This is my theory of everything.
These are my deepest held beliefs that you should
Tucker Carlson is gay. Shapiro's gay. They're all gay. They're all secretly gay.
You're not going to catch me in that trap. I'm
That's my
too
word.
old to fall for that.
No, but in terms of what's causing it, who knows? People want to speculate. Although I've seen the classic post is going around. Some guy was like, I have a friend with bipolar, and he just calls me at weird times of the night, which is a bizarre post to make, because you've never known someone with a mental illness who's done terrible things as a result of the mental illness. That's a frequent story you hear. I mean,
actually got hospitalized for just calling people.
You got
hi,
hospitalized?
how's it going? No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if I got swatted eventually for,
It might happen.
Similar. It's true.
Gatorade might swat you because you've been impugning them.
I'm almost scared to talk about it.
Yeah.
For reference, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I made a post. Can anyone bring it up?
We can't bring it. We can't bring it up. This isn't Spaces. You're too used to Spaces.
LMAO. Yeah, throw it on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
Poison
You have
Jr.
to
We will describe
share
it to
your
you.
screen. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, here we go. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for the audio version of this amazing post.
So this requires a lot of cultural knowledge that I'll just assume you have, because it would be too much work to do anything else. I tweeted, 0 bad bitches hitting my line this week. Mercury must be in Gatorade, laughing emoji. And then in a slightly different font, so it looked like it was the Twitter the Twitter fact checkers coming in, I said, know the facts. All Gatorade beverages have been within acceptable mercury levels since the U.S. Food and Drug Administration reclassed Gatorade as seafood in August 2015.
Yeah.
Which is a whole cloth lie. But if you go on Google and search, if you search IS space G,
IS space
you get
G?
this Gatorade seafood.
There you go. Now you've put it out there. It's in the ether.
Yeah.
Now everyone will
dire.
be questioning whether Gatorade has fish in it or not.
It kind of tastes like it does.
You know, more and more are talking
that's
about
why
this.
I think that's why this has had so much success, is because you get a kind of a briny aftertaste. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of get the smell of the ocean air when you have a Gatorade. At least I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that yellow and green flavor really kind of hits you with the quay.
Yeah, you're very quay. Absolutely quay.
It's so quay.
Yeah. Isn't it, I suppose it's pronounced key, but I prefer pronouncing it as quay. We
I
have
was
a
talking
quay.
about like an actual quay.
Okay, I see.
You were giving me too much credit in assuming that I had some kind of Gen Z phrase.
Okay. That is true. You are also a part of the interminable Generation Z.
Yeah.
How do
I'm
you
a part
live
of
with
it.
yourself?
I'm a part of it, and I'm also a part of it. In that I'm just an absolute goon who hasn't really engaged with a lot of the pop culture in any kind of meaningful way. So people come up to me, like my coworkers and stuff that don't really have a contact with a lot of people my age, and they're like, I like making music on the Game Boy and being a weird little freak, and they're like, oh, I didn't know kids your age like doing that, and I'm like, no. Now, this is like, I'm always worried for like how they're going to engage with the next person, because it's like if you like fly into France and the first person you talk to is like Deleuze, and he's like,
Yeah.
I see things on my walls, and you're like, French people are so weird.
Yeah. I went to France, and the only guy I met was, I don't know, Johnny Depp. He's always there. You know, all French guys are Johnny
funny.
Depp. Actually, that's not
French
too far
guys
off
are
from the
always
truth.
being.
When you go to
It's
France, the first guy that talks to you when you go to France is a guy who really wants to give you a taxi ride.
Okay.
And he is really trying hard to get you to jump in his taxi.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's like a bone collector situation?
No, that's Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I
that's
think Johnny Depp is in that movie. Yeah, he is the bone collector.
It's a guy who kind of looks like Johnny Depp, but it's not Johnny Depp. As far as I've experienced, it's a different guy.
It's
I
Diamond
think we
Jim.
chose horrible examples, because if you did meet Deleuze or Johnny Depp, I think they'd give a pretty good picture
Yeah.
of the entire country.
It's a lot of French people, yeah. No, there's so many people in Provence who are like, "Bon, I live off the land," and I can only do a Quebecois accent because I'm from Canada, so to me all French people sound like Quebecois, which is the
Provence-
biggest insult to French people.
Provence is in the
That's so
south
bad.
of France, so do a French accent with a Southern American tinge.
Je m'appelle Ricky.
Yeah.
I farm millet and wine. I'm a wine farmer.
There you go.
That's how it goes. You make music on the Game Boy, you said. That's how I know you initially, before you know your posts started like popping off like wildfire because of their general quality.
Thank you.
I knew you primarily as a musician.
Yeah.
Making woogly little synth noises with these circuitous, like, there was a strange program that you used where it hooked up a lot of modules to each other, and it created, like, these warbly, sort of warm, like Vangelis, Blade Runner-esque synthy noises, you know, and...
Thank you. So, I kind of want to dig into that just because I like doing free advertising for this thing. There's this program that's called Sunvox that so the way that I started making music is before I was going out and listening to music intentionally, when I was like 11, 12 or something, I had this iPod, and I was like, what am I going to put on here? And I was like, well, I could go through my parents' iTunes. And I put in a couple songs that I liked, like the Beatles and Green Day or whatever. And I was like, these are fine. Like the See My Best song from The Simpsons. I was like, I'm just going to go around bumping this. Mm-hmm. I guess. I don't know. How people listen to music.
Yeah, I've memorized the entire lyrics to that song. I think I still know them.
Yeah. So I know an upsetting amount of I have a lot of perfect recall of songs that I just wish I had empty space for in my head.
Have you memorized all of Macklemore's Thrift Shop? Do you know all of Thrift Shop?
I could probably do several verses of it, but it would kill me. I fear I would be culturally appropriating people even whiter than me. Oh, so bad. Where was I going? Oh, so the way that I got into music was the same way that I got into being a transsexual, which is I joined Twitter in 2011 for Minecraft updates and for... I'm admitting this now for the first time.
Yeah.
For Minecraft updates, and because I wanted to be a game developer, so I was gonna do some amateurish attempts at game development. Mm-hmm. And I got a couple followers from that, but I was very off-putting because I was 11.
You've been on Twitter since you were 11?
Wait, no, hold on. 2011? Maybe I was 12 or 13.
I went on Twitter when I was like 26. That's when I developed the taste for it.
I remember
what attracted you to the platform at that young age?
I don't remember. I think I heard a lot of people talking shit about it, and I remember seeing this poker broadcast that made me mad at a bar that I was at. I had a Virgin Tequila Sunrise. This is all coming back to me.
You were at a bar when you were 12, but they didn't serve you alcohol, so it was fine.
I was waiting for my mom to get off work, and she was the bartender.
Ah, there you go. That's what happened.
So, but the other bartender did not know who I was or anything. So I sat down, my little baby self, and I was probably like, hair of the dog that bit me, Charlie. Or like,
yeah.
Virgin Tequila Sunrise, all right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know what to do with this freak. But there's this poker broadcast on, and I heard the guy on TV go, Ace Queen, about someone's hand. He's like, I hate Ace Queen. I hate Ace Queen almost as much as I hate Twitter. And then the other guy laughed, like, pretty hard. And I was like, that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So I got a Twitter just to see if it was as bad as Ace Queen. And then I was like, oh, hey, there's a big game development community on there. So I was in the game development community, and then I was like, hey, these people are describing themselves as trans. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And then someone kind of like delved a little deeper into it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm trans.
Yeah.
But I discovered a game called VVVVVV, and it had chiptune music. And I fell in love with the soundtrack. I started listening on Last.fm to other stuff. And a lot of the music I liked was like weird avant-garde Game Boy music. Mm-hmm. So I bought do you know what a flash cartridge is?
I do not know. Explain to me what a flash cartridge is.
It is... There's kind of limited utility in it unless you're a little freak. So you can put any like ROM file on it that you want. So you can basically have any game, put it on the cartridge, plug it into the Game Boy, which... if it weren't just a total bitch to make stuff for the Game Boy and like other kind of systems like that, that would have revolutionized like an indie game, like a homebrew scene. But unfortunately, it's just kind of garbage to do that. But there was this one program called LSDJ that got made that allows you to do
LSDJ. My friends used LSDJ.
That's great. I need to meet all of your friends. No imposition, haha. But it allows you to just like completely blow any like native music out of the water for those platforms because everything's very accessible. So it's got like a really idiosyncratic layout that I fell in love with, and that's how I started composing music on maybe the most esoteric thing of all time.
Usually you start out with like notes and staff paper, or you learn a little music theory. Did you learn any music theory in school, or are you entirely self-taught?
I learned a little music theory, but I was kind of self-taught to that point. before that. Like, I had figured that shit out, and then I went to music theory, and I was like, oh, I'm glad that they have a name for all this. I didn't go very far in it. I still can't. I can read music, but it would be a weird backwards way for me to do it at this point, because I do everything by ear.
Mm-hmm.
But I got so used to carrying around my little music maker with me that I was like, what is there for phone? And there's this thing called Sunvox that wasn't getting a lot of love because it had this tracker layout that I grew up on. Mm-hmm. So I got this, and it's amazing. I couldn't recommend it highly enough to the 8 people with my same composition upbringing. But it looks really cool, and it looks like all these, like, kind of blooming hearts, if you zoom out enough, of this, like, weird modular organism. So that makes for good little snippets. So, the perfectionist I am, I can't really allow myself to release finished tracks very often at all. So this was perfect. I was like, this looks pretty. I'm just going to share a little snippet of audio. And then I started gaining followers from that, and also from being insane on Twitter. So
well, insane, but also, like, tremendously funny. You know, that's the appeal. You know, I think, you know, part of the erratic persona is it's obviously you're not as erratic as your Twitter persona would have people believe.
Oh, absolutely not.
You always I'm not as much of a sex freak as my Twitter persona would have people believe, but that's the brand, so you gotta do what's popular.
As it has consumed more of my life being on there, the persona has kind of become one and the same with myself, but it's a fraction. It's like whatever you see me saying on there that looks insane, I probably would say out loud, but I would deliver it very calmly.
Yeah. Well, that's the wonderful thing about Twitter, is because it's all text, it has this flat affect, so like it always comes across as like a speak-to-spell voice saying it, which if you put in the right combination of words, makes a very bizarre experience. Or something as simple as, like, Drill realizing that quotation marks around random words make something very funny in a text-based format. You know, just those little comedy observations about how to be funny with this limited amount of text. I think you've expanded that as well.
It can't really be overstated how much of my goofball humor and that I owe to my parents. My parents are both kind of cooler than me in different ways, and I got my dad into drill.
That's really funny. That's a funny
He'll regularly
statement.
show me drill posts that I haven't seen, and we'll both die.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And my mom is not quite to drill level, which is for the best, because I would just be completely insufferable. But she does do, like, the she does my estrogen injections, which I appreciate. But she also I think I said something about one of my friends being named, like, Leaf or something, and she quoted the non-binary people will be like, I know a spot, and it be their friend named Spot.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a very encouraging household for
that's very
this kind
sweet.
of fuck shit. Yeah.
I remember we were talking the other day, and I don't know, we can edit this out if you want this, but you also grew up in the Mormon church as well.
Oh yeah. The Mormon church, I can't super speak on in general, I don't think, because I I grew up in a ward that was very that was probably very liberal in the in the literal sense. And I didn't encounter a lot of the homophobia and transphobia stuff because when I was going, I wasn't out. So I think the first time that I ran into something like that, I'm like, oh, is this that kind of church? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, the very first time it wasn't even a struggle. You were just peace out. But so did you see other queer people in the church, and did you see their struggle, or was it just not? It just until it came up, it just wasn't even a thing for you.
The only real benchmarks I have are my friends who live kind of local, who I have this one friend who is traumatized in a very classical evangelical way by the church and their trans. So I think things get enforced and imposed on you based on how into it your family seems to be.
Right.
And of course where you are and who's presiding. But they do have, I think they have some kind of withdrawing that they do if they think they're going to scare the hose being the family.
Yeah.
But I've somehow have had a pretty positive relationship with the church. I wouldn't go back now, but only because I wouldn't want to cause a bathroom snafu, because that would retroactively color my memories.
Yeah. Are your parents still Mormon, or did they choose? Were they very intensely religious, or was it just something that they were raised in and they sort of did out of happenstance?
We kind of shrugged our way into and out of it. So
that's pretty funny. You casually, hey, become a Mormon for a few years, no big deal,
Yeah, my mom was raised in the church. My grandmother is the one I think who initially converted. So she's probably disappointed with us because I think every single one of her offshoot children has become disillusioned or stopped going. But I've had a pretty positive relationship, not to do an advertisement for it, but there are some things that I really appreciated that they did, that I hope that I can steal from them.
Oh yeah, well, in the same way that there's religious Judaism and cultural Judaism, there appears to be a sort of separation with Mormonism where there's a religious Mormonism and a cultural Mormonism as well. Whereas with cultural Mormonism, you get stuff like the Killers and Imagine Dragons. And it's there's the Mormon vibe. There, that sort of happy-go-lucky but pseudo-apocalyptic vibe is a very specific thing that I actually sort of appreciate.
So people assume that the smiles are scarier than they are. I think that they really just are happy people, and it is kind of weird and upsetting. But that's a. To some extent, that's you problem if you don't like that. But I think I was in one of the only little enclaves that you can kind of get out alive from with a positive impression if you're someone like me. So that was very lucky. So my takeaways from it are, if I go to another church service, like a Catholic church service or something, they're even the ones that pride themselves on being being the old guard and stuff like that. I'm your hymns, I can just smell that they were written in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's made me very austere about music, and if I walk into a church and see a drum set, given everything else about my personality, I should be but I'm deeply uneasy. We got to get out of here before something bad happens.
Have you been to one? Have you been to a rock church, mega church?
Yeah, like a Righteous Gemstone style mega church?
I went to one.
No, not a mega church, but a medium-sized affair.
I went to a mega church. It was pretty sweet.
What happened to the mega church?
They got Jamba Juice, okay? They got TVs everywhere. Great, I love TV. They had the best sound equipment I'd ever seen. And I was going with my friend who was like, holy shit, you guys go to a mega church? I want to go. So I went with them. They had get like breakfast beforehand. It was totally ridiculous. But it was so funny.
If you want to discount Strymon Big Sky or something, you go to the Texan without a Texan accent who's playing the guitar.
This was in Texas, so there was that.
Oh, nice.
It was a very like completely different because we both were going to Catholic school and we have to go to Catholic church every Wednesday in a church built out of limestone, and it's very austere. And then at home, I'm used to Episcopalian church, which was also very like high Anglican. So to have a Jamba Juice and a rock band, I was like, I would have much rather have done this.
Yeah, I think I would rather have too, but it's just deeply. It's so every good thing like that is so disquieting to me.
It's not. Yeah, it's not good in the ways that you would think Christianity would be good. It's good because it has like, we're gonna merge with capitalism and marry the two with no like shame about it. We know you want a Starbucks here. We're gonna put a Starbucks in church.
Was there ever like did you have Christian music crossover? Did you listen to Skillet? Even though they're not Mormons, they are like Christian music. Was there like a big did they love like, I don't know, Skillet is the only Christian rock band I can name. Did they like POD? Were they big POD fans?
As far as the circle of people that I know, there wasn't any Christian pop. It was either like, oh hey, Imagine Dragons is sort of a Mormon band. Let's mention them, or it was very like oh hey, these guys are doing well, but it was never ever like a Christian rock group or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's got to be part of why that's just so upsetting to me.
I think it's also, I don't know, there's some sort of exclusivity about it too. It's like I compare Mormonism to Judaism in a strange way, in that it's this small group of people who are like, there are reasons to denigrate the religion, but frankly, they've been under the thumb of a lot of American life. Whether you like the religion or not, they have been sort of oppressed in some ways by the mainstream. Not anymore to any significant degree, but when they were coming
for a
up,
while,
yeah.
I mean, there were decent reasons, like
the polyamory and whatnot.
They had to, as far as I know, they had to disavow polyamory in order to. And
not the good, ethical, non-monogamy polyamory. We're talking about the bad kind of polyamory.
You mean
we're not talking about my subs have unionized polygamy. We're talking about I have polygamy. 8 wives who take turns making me carrot raisin salad.
Yeah.
So I think
that's a very specific salad. I like that.
I can get specific with a lot of things, but as far as I know, they had to disavow that in order to become a state. Otherwise, I think Mormons would still practice polygamy. Mm-hmm. So it's weird. And there's also this kind of austerity in the literal sense, not the Thatcherite sense, where the concept of tacky is very repulsive. So anything like a megachurch would instantly. I think this is part of. I think I'm getting out of it what was intended to get out of it. Now that I think about it, the reason there are no crosses on the church is because it's like too similar to like idol worship or something like that. So there's not a lot of symbology. I don't really want to do an advertisement. I wouldn't recommend joining the Mormon Church to anybody.
No, I mean I'm generally very anti-religious. I keep a lid on it because I want to respect the people out there, especially especially Muslims, where anti-religious sentiment gets violently geared towards them. I'm really not trying to open that. But if I search within my heart, especially it comes from this deep, immense rage at Catholicism specifically.
Yeah.
Less Judaism, because Judaism doesn't really have a concept of hell. but it's really Catholicism that ruined my childhood and this is like a story of like tons of Catholic kids. They get told that hell exists, and then they can't stop having nightmares about hell, and then they become childhood insomniacs, and it's like, so it's that plus my dad discovering Catholicism late in life and becoming much more homophobic as a result, which directly affects me. So it's like, that religion specifically, I have this intense, unqualified rage at. More recently than not, because of like it's more influenced by my dad's turn into like his descent into madness. Judaism.
It's hard to know how much to blame religion in general. Like, I hate talking about and like making kind of making guesses about human nature and like the way religion plays a part in XYZ, because America has such a bizarre relationship with everything. Yeah. And it's a lot of that crossover does not exist in nearly the same way anywhere else. So I try to say like Western Christianity or something like that. But the truth is that I haven't left here, so I don't really know the difference. But it feels so disgusting, and it's the merger of Jesus and capitalism is deeply sinister. But I kind of take solace in the fact that that's not happening everywhere, and that it's possible to have principled people that even that will cite their religion, like all of the Christians that were opposed to slavery on Christian grounds.
Oh yeah, John Brown was deeply Christian, of course, and that motivated his belief. Like where are those? But it seems like so many of the Christians I interact with are not John Brown types. They're and neither am I. I'm a secular. Like I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna kill the slave owners. I like my treats. I want to play Elden Ring and have treats. I'm not trying to do any effort.
You wouldn't be the John Brown of Canada?
I will be the John Brown of Canada. I'm gonna go around and start doing stuff. Well, I guess we'd have to do stuff to the mining companies and the oil executives because they are the main purveyors. You gotta
snowblow those hosers into the mine shafts.
Oh yeah, we're gonna seal them up. We're gonna throw a bunch of Labatt Blues down in there for them because we're not inhumane. We'll give them some Labatt Blues, okay? But. So it's also funny with the Mormon church. You said they're austere, but also if you go to Utah and you see the big tabernacle church or whatever, it's this grandiose nightmare and one of the scariest looking buildings on earth as well. Oh, yeah. And so they won't have mega church like style grandiosity, but they will have sort of recapitulation of Gothic gargoyle Notre Dame nightmare sort of Christianity.
Yeah. But there's not much of that at the temple isn't where the temples are not where people go on a week to week basis. So however fancy, like I think the fanciest you can really get is still very intentionally plain looking. Yeah. For Sunday service.
It reminds me of a tweet by Ava, Buff Girlfriend, where she said they should make a Protestant Dark Souls that's just takes place in a poorly lit fluorescent basement with like chairs all over the.
It's
not
absolutely no offense to Buff Girlfriend here, but I really just like I hate that that I remember so many of these people.
these celebrities, Twitter. Well, I don't know. They're sort of like. The weird thing about becoming a Twitter personality, which we've both kind of become, is that people cast all these aspersions on you. They have all these ideas about you, and you become this avatar of yourself that is not yourself. There's some weird version of you floating around out there that is like a stereotypical version of you that you yourself have cultivated.
Yeah, and you fall into these groups that you don't actually. Like, I'm associated with all of these people that I've never, ever interacted with. Mm-hmm.
just because you're part of, or what used to be called weird Twitter. I don't think we were. I mean, you were around for like weird Twitter. You
absolutely.
you were you were around for like the really good posting days when like the maximum amount of likes you could get on anything was like 6,000 or something.
It was so great. Drill was like just coming up.
Yeah.
He was sterling. Like
in 2013, all of like the classic Drill, the Skeleton Army tweet, and like the I
everyone
will walk
was just
backwards
firing
into
on
hell.
all cylinders.
Yeah.
If like I was talking about the I need a thread of like if Twitter goes down tomorrow, if it crashes and never comes back, is there any doubt as to who was the best poster of all time?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's between Drill and obviously Trump, because he posted his way into the White House.
Yeah. And so many of the posts just exist in the cultural memory now. Like, I'll still keep drinking that garbage, you know. I can say that to anyone and they know what I mean.
They're telling me Gatorade has salt water in it. That's okay.
I'll still keep drinking that garbage.
It's so good. Yeah, there are some bits in there that are so good that it almost makes you like root for the guy.
Well, I mean, that was the appeal.
Yeah.
Did you see his statement on Kanye?
No.
Oh boy. No.
I want to read it because it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Is it after he had Kanye for dinner?
Yeah, maybe I have it wrong, but I maybe someone faked it too. This could have been a fake thing, but he was talking about Nicky. He kept calling Nicky Fuentes. I sure hope it wasn't faked because
Nicky Fuentes.
Well, just go.
I guess this was 7 days ago.
Website. Just go to Truth Social.
I guess I should go to Truth Social. Oh my God. Trump calls for the termination of Constitution in Truth Social post. That was 1 hour ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see it as reporting on. I don't know if we... yeah, I don't know. I saw something yesterday where where Trump had made another statement about Kanye, and he said, my former friend was very mentally ill, tried to help him. We didn't know anything about Nicky Fuentes. No, now that I think about it, it definitely was faked. Because he kept making reference to something called Daisy Fuentes. Who is that? Apparently some sort of actor.
That's an actress.
That's beautiful.
And so, yeah, it definitely was fake, but the person who captured the tone perfectly of calling him Little Nicky Fuentes.
He's a king of free association, which that's the most I can say, because that's how I came up.
Yeah, just free associating.
Everyone, the only things that got encouraged were the posts that I made that were like very specific and weird, and like true to what I was thinking in a very direct way. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I'll keep going with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the posts of mine that make it big are not like yours because like I don't have like my comedy persona is like Catskills comedian, like take my wife, please, and playing the violin badly. Like Catskills I have that
comedian.
Yeah, I have a very like workmanlike sense of joke writing, where so it's like they're often like much more one-linery. But your stuff, I've described it as having like a literary quality based on how, like you said, specific the details are, and it's those specific details that sort of like. Within that specificity, you are able to extrapolate a general stuff like the specific, like I have to pin down you. We have to repopulate the hive. Like, there's nothing about that which is like universal to an experience, but somehow you have captured like. And the other thing is, like, you can just say anything. You can just say, cis people do this, trans people do that. It's like, if the details are funny enough, it doesn't matter if it's actually true or not.
Yeah, it's just if it rings right in the ear.
Yeah, it has to have a good rhythm to it. You know, talk about another free associator. Biden is a pretty good free associator when it talks about just having like a unique rhythm. Is like, and we went out down to the docks and we found a good old guy and his name was Freak Munch. And, we found, the E1 did a whole podcast of one of the greatest podcasts of all time on how Joe Biden is an amazing free associator.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that one. That was pretty. That's if you listen to any episode of E1, that's probably it.
Yeah. That's just like, I aspire to that level of podcasting brilliance as someone who is engaged in the medium myself.
I think you're gonna get there.
Eventually, we'll have our own Joe Biden episode.
But I don't want you ever chastising yourself for not being able to do like a Gale style post or something, because
I couldn't if I tried, because they're so unique to you. They're like it's such a distinct personality. It would ring false if I tried to do a Gale style post.
Oh man, it rings false to me when I try to. Like, I'll just kind of shit something out, and everyone will be like, banger, banger, banger. This one's one of your greatest, and I'm like, that can't possibly be true.
Yeah, but people are just, the ability to rearrange words into amusing patterns. Not a lot of people have that ability, as it turns out. Even writers, even a lot of writers don't have the ability to make their words like amusing or dynamic, or I would describe it in, how Scorsese movies just have that crackling energy underneath? Mm-hmm. There's just like, some people can do it. You can do it. Other posters, Drill can do it, Mm-hmm. But
I've been observing Drill with like under an academic lens.
Yeah.
Since
deconstructing Drill, yeah.
Since I was 14 years old or something. What I was going to say about the thread of posters is a lot of the people that I want to mention, I can't even remember a good post from, or it's just things that have been wiped because they were good like a decade ago. Like Neon Wario was one of the best posts. Like, he was a hero to me. And like, I can't name a single Neon Wario tweet. I remember that he said oh a lot, which I thought was a strange thing to do.
In terms of
and there are
best
a bunch
ever
of like
tweets.
little things.
Yeah. The one that always comes to mind with best ever tweets that's like not a Drill tweet is the Goop on Your Grinch tweet by Juche Man.
Goop on Your Grinch.
Yeah.
I was around when Juche Mane was a small little account. And he would delete a lot of things because he was very self-critical. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he tweeted, "I want to know, can a treadmill launch a plane?" And I was like, I had to be the only person that saw it. It was up for about 10 seconds. And I was like, hey, why did you take down the funniest thing I've ever seen? It really sucks that it's such an ephemeral platform where nothing is designed to be remembered. Mm-hmm. It's just like a tweet with an old date on it gets buried. The only way it gets remembered is if it somehow becomes a meme format, like a nice 400-pound squat bro, she let me hit because I'm goofy. Like, everyone will remember that because for an entire year everyone was doing blank she let me hit because I'm goofy posts. Yeah. And they're all good.
They're all wonderful. They're all as good as the original.
I think people overlooked the sentiment. Sometimes I'm just roasting reply people, but a lot of the posts I do about how bad reply guys are also intended to be commentaries on how bad posters are, and how nobody's just having a good time. Like, maybe my favorite one is the most simple, where it's just like, at Guantanamo Bay, I got my shit rocked by a bricked up twink hun in the Mesa Verde bathroom. Sea Lion 037, arc, Sea Lion 251, arc.
That's funny. I don't know, that works. I'll delete a lot of tweets. I'm fairly self-conscious, but that's not because I like, this joke is so bad, I hate myself. It's like, I can be funnier than this. That's usually why I'll delete a tweet.
We got some people who are asking why is House of Decline deleting tweets in our Discord. And I had to say, because he's tweeting illegal things.
Yes, I'm always, tweeting various libelous things.
He's tweeting Hunter Biden's laptop, which is okay. So this is the major story of the week, right? Is like
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Matt Taibbi gets the fucking files from Elon Musk about the Twitter stuff that happened during the election, which was when everyone got, I guess the New York Post got access to all of Hunter Biden's dick pics.
Yep.
and they wanted to put them out there.
Yeah.
And now, famous actor. Who's the famous actor who's sharing them now?
The Hunter Biden photos? There's a famous actor?
Yeah, the really conservative one. What's his name?
Oh, James Woods?
James Woods. James Woods is now just sharing Hunter Biden dick pics. Being like, this is how they stole the election.
It's Videodrome. He's doing Videodrome.
People go to. Oh my god. That is what's happening.
It's the new Flesh.
It's all good.
Yeah. He's got to get a gun penis attached to his hand, Hunter Biden. But yeah, Matt Taibbi, I would be that pissed off too if I looked like an even more fucked up Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh my god.
Well, no, Billy Corgan looks more fucked up than Matt Taibbi.
No way. Matt Taibbi looks more fucked up than Billy Corgan.
No.
I like
Describing how Billy Corgan looks is the only thing that makes me wish I knew more TTTT brain rot phrases.
Yeah, I stopped to twink on this so far.
Oh yeah, I would give anything to know less
of the TTT brain rots. Passoid.
Oh god.
I mean, it's funny how self-hatred produces these incredibly funny phrases. Because that's all the TT. Whenever I go on there, just as for curiosity, it's like, man, I want to buy people a drink. Yeah. You should be nicer to yourselves.
They'd smash the bottle all over themselves and go nuts. It's a hard sell getting any. They love it. They're there because they need. I think it's just because they need someone to be mean to them.
Yeah.
Because they are not creative enough to craft this beautiful menagerie of new insults for themselves. They've got to find other pettier people.
Mm-hmm. Well, 4chan in general is sort of an exercise in self-hatred. It's the ultimate, I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me as a member, so I'm going to join this club.
Yeah.
Of people that are just disdainful of themselves and, are constantly self-critical. It's like this website of people that are addicted to pornography, but who are also constantly denigrating the effects of pornography. It's always this immense tension between the posters there, and it's I'm reminded of Kierkegaard in my few readings of Kierkegaard, and I think Kierkegaard sort of saw despair as a discontinuity between the selves, the sort of the physical self and the eternal self. The eternal self being sort of the idealized form of you is sort of like putting it simply, but sort of the version of yourself that is not bound by petty flesh and that goes on. And he saw it as the part of you that is God's child, because he was like a big Christian. But I think and I was actually listening to an episode of Last Podcast the other day. They were talking about Jack Parsons, and they were talking about the rocket scientist who was influenced by Aleister Crowley and whatnot. And they were talking about Aleister Crowley, and Aleister Crowley said something sort of similar, which was that, all of despair is caused by this break or discontinuity in will, where if you are not doing the will that is calling out to you from the very depths of your being, from the very inside of your body, that is what causes your suffering. And, that's sort of also what leads me to think that everybody who is, mean to the gays is secretly gay, because there is, a discontinuity of will, or is there is an image of yourself that you are not living up to because, you are not actually following your instinct. You are following the instincts of, like you said, why people use TTT. They but there's sort of this perverse pleasure in society telling you what to be and preserving this discontinuity between who you are right now and what you eventually, want to be or what you could be.
I think a lot of the people that bark back at the all of my detractors are gay thing are people who hold in their heart somewhere that gay is a bad thing to call somebody. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this. It's like a serious thing to engage with the people that'll fight you back on that. It's like it reminds me of when I'll talk about RuPaul, or how I don't like RuPaul. to a cis person, and the cis person will be like, "Isn't that? Are you being transphobic right now?" Like, I know more than you, dude.
Yeah.
But
well, RuPaul is,
you know,
very special to cis people because he's like their first entryway into the, like, okay, this person, because he has fused gayness and capitalism, I can like it now.
Yeah. God. Yeah, okay.
It's almost like wokeness is like a religion. Shout out to Freddie.
The woke of my burden.
Someone used wokeness as like a religion seriously. I think it was Ian Miles Chong or one of those guys.
They've really gotten attached to that word.
Yeah.
It's great because that's like, sometimes the conservatives, they're always grifting, but sometimes they like get high on their own supply and they forget that they're supposed to be pulling people in. So they'll just start chiving and be like, this is woke, blah, 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 blah. Just like throw a bunch of like buzzwords together and it'll mean something in their head. But what comes out is just entirely, it's completely incomprehensible. So I really like that. It's great that how often they do that, because it's clear that while all of them are grifters, most of them are not very moderated. So they can be like coaxed into a snafu because they've got no one aid whispering in their ear, being like, "This is not how this works."
It's weird how like I'll often see. I don't understand how Dave Rubin is popular with anybody, because like he is evidently weak of spirit. You know, he's just on like, you can just read his body language and face, and you know, like, man, this is a weak person. This is like an incredibly, and you know, weak in, I don't mean in like the lacks physical strength. I mean like lacks character, lacks any sort of character whatsoever. Like, you know, lacks a personality, is just willing to be whatever someone is telling them to be, and that is like a universally unattractive quality. At least with like people like Ben Shapiro, they seem at least convinced of what they're saying. You know, they seem like they're. But with Dave Rubin, you can tell he's just like, I'll do whatever for money. You know, who cares?
Ben
you know?
Shapiro's a crusader. How do you think Jordan Peterson? I haven't seen any Dave Rubin. What do you think about Jordan Peterson? Because he's
Jordan. Well, my dad loves Jordan Peterson. That's the guy that turned him on to all of like this traditional nonsense, because he's saying something that a lot of people resonate with. A lot of specifically cis white males.
Are you gonna get an anime waifu with all those jars of cum around your room? Then everyone will be like, at least he's telling people to clean their room.
Yes. Yeah. Which is, you know, as people have pointed out, his room is not very clean at all. Whenever he's posting from his room, and then all the weird stuff where where he's hooked up to some sort of sex machine, when Michaela's taking a photo of him, and did you see that photo of him?
I've been told that the veracity of that is higher than I had suspected. Yeah,
it turns out because I first saw it because of the fucking Falcon Refinance guy who I'm become strange friends with.
Is that the guy who does the lines?
I don't know if he does the lines. All I know is
Ravella. That'd be funny if they did the lines of him in bed sloping away from his daughter. He doesn't love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is the bizarre book cover of Our Carnivore Diet, which I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah.
Where he's just looking sad and you know, and
Jordan
infertile in the background.
Has been on fire since his return to Twitter.
Yes.
He has got some great insults lately. Like he's always good for a really funny insult. I think we've covered him a lot on this show.
Yeah.
We haven't covered his return yet.
Yeah, we haven't had the return of Jordan, because we were on Peterson watch for a while when it seemed like he was dead.
We thought he was dead for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we thought maybe they were going to bring him back as an AI. And it may be that he's an AI. So I do not know. I can't comment yet. We have a big investigation.
We got to look at the hands. He might have fucked up hands. If he has fucked
he's
up
a computer.
Hands. Yeah.
I think, and that's why he cries at odd intervals.
That's why he can only think in binaries. That's why.
He's getting overwhelmed like a Discworld arbiter. It's like the taste of bread is it's just filling my senses.
Yeah, it always seems like he's in a state of distress, which is like, and that state of distress is entirely self-imposed, which is sort of
you know what? You know what lends credibility to the arbiter thing is his insistence on plain food. Because if he ate something like that was too flavorful, I think he would deteriorate. It's just like, I want a regular cup of coffee. If you put any mocha choke me nonsense in it, I simply will unravel.
Heard Mom? What happened? I want my regular mom. This is terrible. Yeah, pumpkin spice. He hates the pumpkin spice. He's like, please. No, I don't know. That trend has died of making fun of women for liking pumpkin spice coffee.
I'm searching if Dr. Jordan
everyone
Peterson...
agreed that it was good.
Yeah, it's good coffee. Why did yeah, it's just cinnamon and cloves. You don't like cinnamon and cloves? What are you, an asshole?
I'm searching to see if he's ever tweeted
those are very
pumpkin.
old spices too.
Yeah.
Like at some point you got to be like, I'm calling the shit Beowulf ate woke.
I like the idea of it. We're only cooking meals mentioned in Beowulf. We're only having squaw.
Are spicing their mead.
Their meat is too spicy. Think of how much I would cry if I had cumin in my system. I'm already crying at an unstable amount. I'm losing moisture. I'm desiccating.
You used to be able to get a standard flagon of grog at the salon.
You used to be able to get 7 strips of goat meat, wherever you wanted.
Okay,
and,
I'm fact-checking. He's not said any of these things.
No. I think you're wrong about that. You got to search deeper. You got to search deeper about his love of bland food.
He's never tweeted the word spicy.
God,
really?
yeah.
He's never, ever tweeted the words. Well, there you go. Hence his aversion to spice.
I'm looking for zingers, and I'm only seeing him, quoting accounts that are called, Angelic Princess and being like, wow. He's just a sterling orator. He delivers such a flat affect, I hate to compare him to Chomsky, but he peppers in some weird stuff in there. What I thought were just him being pretentious and odd turned out to be Canadianisms.
Yeah.
I thought nobody in the real world said bloody. How often do you encounter bloody?
No, that's Canada. We have, because we're subtly influenced by the British. Well, not subtly influenced by the British, but we have a lot of British shit that's inborn into our culture. We get all the BBC shows, The
bloody problem with communistic agendas is that when you put them into motion, they're absurd.
You have to be so goddamn bloody-minded about the whole thing. I was having a conversation with my good friend Joe Rogan, and then he started mentioning Euphoria, and listen. I was weeping openly.
Yeah. One day yesterday he tweeted, James Woods, do you want to talk with me on my podcast? At Real James Woods. That's nice.
Hunter Biden's penis. When Hunter Biden shows his penis to the world, what he is subtly communicating is he is showing all of our penises to the world. And we have had too much trouble. Yeah, I think that is the argument, because that's how my dad really feels, is that he doesn't have a seat at the table. He feels that queer people and people of color have formed this cabal where they control all of the institutions that he would initially have a voice in, and that he is being deliberately left out because he was born at the wrong time in history, and he feels some rage at that, And here's this person. I've often compared him to the Good Will Hunting scene, where, in the Good Will Hunting scene when Matt Damon is crying and Robin Williams is going, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." Yeah. That's what Jordan Peterson is doing to people like my dad. He's this figure of vague authority to him. And to especially to someone who eschews their sort of emotional life, who thinks that psychology or therapy is gay, or, it's like not going to help them, or it's something that was invented by, I mean, my dad is also sort of vaguely anti-Semitic, which is weird as well. But yeah, or that, psychology was propagated by the Jews in order to control us or something like that, which a lot of people, harbor without even realizing that they harbor this sort of distaste for mental exploration or an examined life because they've just been taught that it's not worth it. And here's this guy, Jordan Peterson, a psychologist, who says, all of your fears are correct, but I am allowing you to explore your emotions. I'm the first ever person who has been simultaneously, reactionary, but also emotional. So I think it's the same reason why you see like men break down with dogs as well, because a dog is like the only thing they can show any sort of vulnerability or affection to as well. It's like such a great observation of Hank Hill, that the only person that he can really open up to is his dog, because that's such a common symptom for like a certain type of like
he dances with his dog at one point. Remember that episode? We has to dance with the dog.
Yeah, the dog. That's like episode.
He's like tenderly dancing with her.
Yeah. That's
to make Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill is just insane.
Yeah, and Office Space.
Yeah, Mike Judd, big Texas hero.
I forgot.
Big Texas hero.
Yeah,
and Silicon Valley, which is like got dogged because it's two big stars were questionable people.
The pacing of King of the Hill, I would describe only as glacial. And I appreciate that about it. So the fact that you can make that and Beavis and Butthead, which is just like, it just feels like electroshock therapy to even watch, is really something.
It's amazing. I was sort of like, so they brought Beavis and Butthead back, and it didn't even miss a beat. They're perfectly situated for our time and place. And it just got me thinking about how little culture has changed since the 90s. Yes, it's changed in all of these big ways, and there have been social movements, but just in terms of like the actual aesthetics, it's been it seems like very stuck in this one era, We haven't really evolved, not to Francis Fukuyama end of history everything.
Whoa.
But yeah, it seems like, and I was even noticing it today. Like I walk past college students. I live near a college, and they dress exactly the same as I did when I was in college, which seems weird. Shouldn't they have their own fashion? And
Are you sure? So they were wearing a dirty white T-shirt and jeans. Is that?
They were
pretty
wearing
much.
leggings as pants back in the pre-9/11 era.
I'm wearing leggings. I'm wearing leggings as pants right now. They're actually
they were wearing
underwear.
feet of clay, much like you.
Yeah. I guess people are wearing Carhartt right now or something, but I don't even see them wearing Carhartt.
You wore a very normal outfits in college.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is like everyone is wearing very normal outfits now.
That's just normalness.
I'm extrapolating from myself, but but even in the 70s, you would see like people with like. People in the 70s looked different from people in the 80s, just in terms of fashion. Like there were these big, fashion divides between the decades that we just don't see anymore. I'm trying to think of like the big what's like the big fashion thing right now is that it's that front puff haircut that everybody hates.
Right.
That's the most recognizable Zoomer piece of fashion.
Skinny pants are no longer in; they are out.
Yeah, Jinkos are back in.
It's baggy pants now, so it's like cool.
Yeah,
for me.
There is something to the fact that we're still like the people that can be defined as millennials are now like it's like a 40-year range or something.
Yeah,
and I think we're kind of not paying attention to it because initially we didn't know what to call the aughts. We're like, it's been 100 years since we've had to have a name for this. And then, the tens rolled around, and we were like, things are pretty much the same. And now we're in the 20s, and I don't think they were doing all these posts that were like, the 90s was 8,000 years ago, and everyone was like, I feel so old. I don't think they've been doing that forever. So we don't have decade divides anymore. Like, we're in the same decade as we were in the aughts.
I mean, even with COVID, the COVID really, that collapsing of time really feels, especially when you're stuck indoors and you're just seeing the same four walls, you know.
That's
constantly.
my theory for why Kamala is got a drinking and drug problem.
Yeah.
Because of COVID. I think a lot of people probably started hitting stuff a little harder.
Yeah.
You know, hitting the booze a little harder than they used to. So, the time collapsing, like, what will people memories be? Because I guarantee you a larger amount were more fucked up. I was more fucked up.
I've been living in the COVID era since long before it ever happened. Like, I was holding my breath for something, and COVID happened, and I was like, oh, well, it was for this. Like, I wasn't even, like, mildly fazed by any of it, because I was like, well, I knew something was going to come crashing down one way or another. And I think it's not a non-zero amount of people that felt the same way, just, like, something in the air feels unsustainable.
Yeah.
And I can point to any number of confirmed things, but the fact that it's the vibe du jour is something.
In that sense, you know, once we're still living in this strange Cold War, except we don't have there's no enemy now. Now it's just a Cold War against everything. Everything is like a potential destructive factor because we lack the political will to like form any major coalition or mass movement that could solve any of these potential crises. Hypernormalization, you know, talked about it. But
without passing any judgment on what the effects have meant, conservatives are right about like PC culture and stuff like that in some ways. Like there's a whole lot that we can't say directly anymore. Like it's harder to say that we're like exporting democracy.
Yeah.
All of the things that were really hitting before are now taboo. Of course, it's way harder to be openly racist.
Yeah.
And all sorts of horrendous stuff. But the openly is the key word. Like all these wheels are still in motion. And it'll take a lot more than a PR shift to stop any of them. It's just now we can't talk about huge sectors of the economy and like what's at play. It's all taboo.
Yeah, I think in terms of like PC stuff and like sort of the overstifling, obviously stuff on the left has been written about it. The most famous essay being Exiting the Vampire Castle. But I think it's once again, you see that the only thing people know how to do is consume media, and they think media consumption is the be-all and end-all of your political action. So being able to do the whole like language police thing is you can wipe your hands and feel like I've done my good deed for the day. I don't have to do any. I think this emphasis on like the right thing to say is less good than an emphasis on doing the right thing or performing an action, you know, that I think it's because, you know, partially it's because of Twitter, because so much of our language has become text-based and idea-based and not action-based, as so much of it exists online where action doesn't mean anything. There is no physical or kinetic movement associated with what you're posting.
Well, when you say the right thing, you're demonstrating that you're a member of the elect that is predetermined to, you know, whatever your heaven is, which I think is it's Calvinistic, what you're describing.
Yeah. Well, right? This is also not to
laugh
denigrate
at you, but that's not a bad point at all.
You should think about saying the right thing, because you should, you know, be a kind and generous person and think about what makes others comfortable, and, you know, try not to deliberately upset people, and, you know, all of that is good. You know, there should be some PC element of your mind just because you want to be nice to people. You know, you want to make people feel as if they're included. You know, that's the part of it which is fine. But I think, obviously, like anything, it gets over-applied. And people... I think it's also something It's hard to gauge because a lot of the people I see engaging in the whole language police are very young.
Yeah.
Like, usually it tends to skew younger, and I think that's because you don't have any agency yet. So it's like, this is the only thing you can do. This is the only thing that, like, all media around you has taught you to do in terms of, like, how to do things and how to get out your ideals and goals in society. So... yeah, I don't know. But, like, I don't do anything. So I don't organize. I didn't even vote in my last mayoral election, so I feel bad about that.
I feel like these maybe are the only people that can be hurt by pointing out their hypocrisy. But, like anyone that was trying to, like, that, like, felt like they had to have a take on the chili neighbor thing and, like, get on her ass about that. That dog pile started because TERFs thought she was trans. So they were going... initially Jesus. It was, you are a creep for observing your neighbors and making them food that's probably laced with estrogen.
Yeah.
And then people saw other people typing on the keyboard bongos, so slightly less TERFy people were like, and also... dooby-dooby-doo, and then finally got to, like, the IDF Pickaroo people that were like, it's ableist to give somebody food.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that shit rules.
So then just everyone, it was just that everyone had to have their little take on it. Is the dress blue and white, or is it ableist?
I am just surprised at how Chillazilla, she seems to be this lightning rod for these nightmarish discourses.
Oh, yeah.
She's like McNulty in The Wire. What the fuck did I do? You know,
it would surprise me more if we weren't so similar, because I face so little of, like, I feel like I've been getting off scot-free for saying, like, just all kind of horrendous things.
Yeah.
I mean, I've faced... there have been some scary moments, but largely, I'm like, why is just all of this getting directed at this person that is... people assume is trans, and not this trans person who's just, like, actively stirring chaos.
I think, if I may offer a theory as to why that is, I think it's because she exclusively sincere posts, which is, and, you know, it's a lot harder to tell what you're actually, like, what your actual thoughts are from your posts, because there's so much of it are jokey and obvious jokes as well, you know?
Yeah, okay.
But, you know, even with that, you know, you can still get fucking, you know, the people will come out of the woodwork. I've been relatively unscathed by my experience, but that's because I don't have I'm not part of any of the categories that tend to get, you know, the real rage on Twitter, like a woman or trans.
You've stopped your tendency to sincere post as well. Which we struggled with in the earlier days.
Yes.
I remember messaging you being like, stop replying.
Stop replying to people. You sound like an anime villain. Stop doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were tenting your fingers. And
yeah.
I'm going to destroy you with words.
I have so many more followers than you, and they will all see how you are wrong, and I am the right one. Playing that game, you know, is usually for naught, unless you're really good at it. If you're a really good hater, then you should do counter riposts and reply wars. But I am not a good hater. I just don't have that instinct in me.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, we do posture ourselves very differently. My avatar has become such an extension of myself that I don't even recognize it as Princess Bubblegum smoking weed anymore. It's just
you.
me.
Yeah.
And I like a thing that I like about it is that she's kind of like, not only is she smoking weed, but she's assuming the camera is kind of a little bit under her, and she's kind of delivering this Olympian blank glance that it just exudes last word haver.
Yeah, you can't win against this person. They
have
a whole
way.
goddamn Olympic torch blunt in their mouth. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't possibly win an argument against. Whereas as Chinchillazilla, she posts her actual face, which is like anyone who does that on Twitter. It's like, oh my god, you are brave. You are so fucking brave, because you know people can just do the thing where they blow up your face as a reply, and it's destruction. You know, instant destruction.
It's a good thing that she's very pretty.
Yes, it is useful.
If I were a little prettier, I would probably be exhibiting myself differently on this website.
You're plenty pretty. You're plenty pretty. But
You heard it here
just
first, folks.
the putting your face out there on Twitter, where like people
Yeah.
will just mock anything, no matter how small, about your appearance, is like, ooh. People who do that are very, very brave to me.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're nearing the end, but I have a final question I want to pose to both of you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Was Hitler a demonic figure?
Where are you getting this from? What is...
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden said Hitler is a demonic figure?
Was a demonic figure. Okay, I know Joe Biden's Catholic, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Does he think Hitler was a demon from hell?
I
Like
don't think
literally
so.
a demon from hell?
I think.
Yeah.
I think based on nothing, I think that what he's saying is it's not worth making the distinction, which is kind of funny and awesome.
I think... Yeah, sure, Hitler's a demon. Why not? I think
Cool. Okay.
life is much cooler if there are demons. Why wouldn't you want a world where there are demons? Yeah, I mean, that's like sort of the fun pitch about religion in general. Is it's magic! There's magic in the world!
Well,
Ooh,
there is magic.
There's
There is
wizards
magic.
and demons!
There's
Oh yeah,
Disney magic.
it's real life trading cards. Trading cards are great.
Yeah. And so, yeah, just because I'd rather live in the world where I can be a demon thwarter, a demon hunter, yeah, I will accept that. I will accept that.
Yeah.
It's just a strange turn of phrase that I saw.
Yes.
I like that. That's
my-
something that I would say without giving it a second thought.
Demonic presence. Anyway,
Demonic
Gail,
goblins.
do you have any plugs for your
I do.
SoundCloud or others?
My SoundCloud, I can't remember the name of offhand, but you can get to it through my Twitter, which is at Poison Jr. Jr. I will be doing a reading tonight of one of my favorite pieces of literature, which is pretty much a summary of Home Alone written in the style of Cormac McCarthy. It's one of the finest things I've ever read legitimately, and I would love to share with the world as much as possible. So I'm going to be doing that every Sunday until Christmas. If you need me, DM me, do whatever.
Everyone should DM Gail. Absolutely.
No, God.
After this episode, if you have any questions.
Yeah. I'm going to put your SoundCloud link in the description of the episode, as well as a link to your Twitter bio. So you can
Thank
go
you.
click there if you have your podcast app open. Thank you so much for being on the show, Gail.
It was such a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Likewise. And just to sign off on the show, go to our Patreon. Give us money, you fucks.
Oh, Alex. Don't call them fucks.